welcome to the live stream service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart, Indiana. My name is Patricia Riley Chirilla. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources, and our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles, both of which can be found online at uua.org. Together, we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values in the world. We are currently in search for a full-time minister. When we do not have a minister in the pulpit, we invite members or guests to share a special message with us. This is one such Sunday. We are fortunate to hear today from the Hospitality Committee and more. During this time of responsible social distancing, we are striving to maintain the authenticity of our services. So we want to draw your attention to several parts of our service today. The bell you heard ringing was our actual church bell, which was recorded by Bob Allen. The chalice which you will see being lit today is our actual chalice, which has been made possible by James Johnson. The music you hear is recorded each week by our music director, Jeremy Jacobson. If you are willing and able, we invite you to leave your cameras on so that your fellow congregants can see you just as they would if you were physically present. There will be a time in the service when you will all be unmuted briefly to say good morning to one another. We are currently streaming on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Our service is recorded and will be made available for future viewing on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Please take a deep breath now and join us in a spirit of reverence as we listen to our prelude. Thank you, Nolan. Well, now I would like everyone to gather together with us as we light our chalice. Okay. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning. I'm Janet French. I serve this congregation through June as Interim Director of Religious Education. Welcome. For any guests and newcomers who may be with us, it's helpful to know that traditionally on this Sunday, this congregation has held an annual whole congregation turkey and Thanksgiving dinner and potluck for decades now. It's an event that is very much looked forward to, although as it is for so many this year, due to COVID, things will be different. During first hour this morning, we shared some memories of this wonderful time together. I didn't share, but I will add now that my memories when I first came to this congregation of those on the hospitality team and the setup and the cleanup and the dishes and how it all worked, just have a very special place in my heart. And I also really enjoyed as people were bringing in their dishes, those of us who were already there snipping and looking to see what additions were being added to the tables. But as we know, it's not just the impact of the pandemic that's making this different. This past year, some in our congregation followed our denomination's directive to learn about and from Indigenous people, to learn about whose land our church is built on, the Potawatomi. Many of us read the seminal Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, and were rightly horrified and grief-stricken by a history we had not been taught, a history that claimed discovery of an already populated land, a narrative of a first Thanksgiving that is not only painfully inaccurate, but erases thousands of years of ongoing Indigenous harvest festivals and other occasions expressing gratitude. We were not taught this history of betrayals, massacres, broken treaties, boarding schools, genocide. And yet, Indigenous people survive and are here. Many of them are raising their voices now to decolonize Thanksgiving. Let us hold ourselves accountable to the horrors enacted and the lies told. Let us honor and center Indigenous voices, insights, and perspectives over false narratives that support white supremacy. Let us act in accordance with truth and justice according to our Unitarian Universalist faith. Let us be thankful this Thanksgiving that we have the opportunity to do so. In the apropos words of the Reverend Paul Bicknell, there remain some heights to which we have not risen and never will. There are some depths beyond to which we have not fallen and never will, we pray. Somewhere between, there are places where we can reach up and reach out to each other for the strength we need for our journey. This is such a place. Let us pause for refreshment. Let us worship in true thanksgiving. The words to our opening hymn will be on your screen in just a moment. They'll be on your screen. I think someone needs to be unmuted. They will be on your screen in just a moment. I'm trusting that they'll be on our screen. And then we will proceed with our opening hymn.
You're unmuted.
I'm muted? No. Okay. James, but wait a second. I'm not sure what you're doing because we're in our worship service and this is not the time for announcements. James? James?
Hi.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
James, do you have your mic on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Barely. A pardon, everyone.
Can you see me? That's the real question.
Yes, we weren't expecting these technical difficulties, just as I wasn't expecting James to start ringing the chime that we ring for announcements and to stand up and to have with him the clipboard that he always has prior to our annual Thanksgiving potluck as he goes around and gets people to sign up for various dishes and duties. And the rest of what James is saying, I believe. Again, James, we might be able to hear you better now, but this isn't time for announcements and we may need to move on. Sorry.
Well, if you can hear me, what I did
Yeah.
want to say is I think most of us know what it means this time of year is getting ready for Thanksgiving and our annual feast here at the church. Sign-up sheets are usually on the coffee hour table starting the beginning of November, but we weren't in the building this year and we haven't been since March. Of course, it'll be a little different this year. It won't really be happening I mean, like normal. I won't be roasting turkeys, no pies. The Zen group won't have pulled out the tables and set them up. You won't get to wonder if you'll be set at the table that'll go first or last, or if the mashed potatoes will hold out until you get there. Or if Patricia brought vegetarian versions of gravy, cranberry sauce, Beth with her pies, and all the varieties of sweet potatoes, casseroles, corn pudding, deviled eggs. Like I said, Thanksgiving will be a little different this year, but we still have a sign-up sheet that I hope you'll all take time to fill out. We just need to think a little bit more deeply about what it is we'll be bringing, and I'd like to say more on that. That is, we'll receive, or well, what we'll receive. What are you bringing? What is it you receive? And bigger, what does our congregation bring? What is our congregation thankful for even now? These words now, let us continue with the words to our opening hymn. We sing now together. The words will be on your screen.
We sing now together our song of thanksgiving, rejoicing in goods which the ages have brought. For life that unfolds us and helps and heals and holds us, leads beyond the goals which our forebears saw. We sing of the freedoms which mark and heroes have won by the labor, their sorrow, their pain. The oppressed befriending our emperors, defending. Death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets by teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and workers and seers. Our own lives expanding, our gratitude commending. Deeds that made immortal their days and their years. We sing a community now in the making, in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. Pledge yourselves in covenant firmly to stand.
And now, if you would please read with us our affirmation of faith, which is on your screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament. Service is our prayer, and this is our covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now it is time to unmute yourself and greet your neighbor, which will be followed by our doxology.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi. Hi.
From walls until in all
Good morning, everyone. This is the time in our service where we invite people to share their joys and concerns that have arisen from the past week. We believe that a joy shared is increased and a sorrow shared is lessened. Please type your joys and concerns into the chat box. Your joys and concerns will not be recorded. Thank you.
Fry Bread, a Native American family story, written by Kevin Noble Maillard, illustrated by Juana Martinez Neal. Fry bread is food: flour, salt, water, cornmeal, baking powder, perhaps milk, maybe sugar, all mixed together in a big bowl. Fry bread is shape: hands mold the dough, flat like a pancake, round like a ball, or puffy like Nana's softest pillow. Fry bread is sound: the skillet clangs on the stove, the fire blazes from below. Drop the dough in the skillet, the bubbles sizzle and pop. Fry bread is color: golden brown, tan, or yellow, deep like coffee, sienna, or earth, light like snow and cream, warm like rays of sun. Fry bread is flavor: see beans or soup, smell tacos, cheese, and vegetables, delight in honey and jam, rise to discover what brings us together. Fry bread is time: on weekdays and holidays, supper or dinner, powwows and festivals, moments together with family and friends. Fry bread is art: sculpture, landscape, portrait, or daily craft shared from teacher to student, a cycle of heritage and fortune. Fry bread is history: the long walk, the stolen land, strangers in our own world with unknown food. We made our new recipes from what we had. Fry bread is place: Alaska, Kansas, all the way to Maine, down to Delaware, on to Georgia, over to Oklahoma, Colorado, and California. Cities and lands we call home. Fry bread is nation: Abenaki, Apache, Arapaho, Ojibwe, Onondaga, Oglala Sioux, Narragansett, Navajo, Nipmunk, Seminole, Shoshone, Sac and Fox, hundreds and hundreds of tribes. Fry bread is everything. Round, flat, large, small, north, south, east, west, brown, yellow, black, white, familiar and foreign, old and new, we come together. Fry bread is us. We are still here, elder and young, friend and neighbor. We strengthen each other to learn, change, and survive. Fry bread is you. And here is Kevin's fry bread recipe if anyone wants it. Thank you.
Now is the time in our service for our offering. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music, sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. The PayPal link is on the screen, but it is not clickable. A clickable link will be shared in the chat box.
Should be on, Patty.
Thank you. Countless plants and animals have been taken to make our food. Unknown numbers of hands have worked to prepare it from the seed to the table. Blessed be the earth for giving birth to this food. Blessed be the sun for nourishing it. Blessed be the wind for carrying its seed. Blessed be the rain for quenching its thirst. Blessed be the hands that help to grow this food, to bring it to our tables, to nourish our minds, bodies, and spirits. For food in a world where many walk in hunger, for faith in a world where many walk in fear, for friends in a world where many walk alone, we give thanks. Blessed be.
Is Rue playing the violin now? Or,
Is this when you speak?
well, Rue was playing the violin first, but she can go after me.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. I'll never forget the Thanksgiving now, maybe 20, 25 years ago, when my mom decided to do something different. We'd all gathered as usual at my parents' home, my siblings and I and our families, back in the day that then included nearly a dozen or so young children. My own was maybe 6 or 7. We were all looking forward to the gathering of family as well as the standard Thanksgiving fare we'd always had. Turkey, of course, mashed potatoes, candied sweet potatoes, green bean casserole, corn pudding, pumpkin and other pies, all the regular fare featured on the covers of magazines like Good Housekeeping, Better Homes and Gardens, Family Circle, and Women's Day. The many recipes inside that we'd come to expect and enjoy because, well, Thanksgiving. But that year, my mom, who every year put nearly the entire spread together, apparently that year she'd become bored with the same old foods and became inspired to try something new. There was no turkey. The main dish, I think, was some kind of maybe Cornish hens. Good, but not turkey. There was no broiled marshmallows on top of brown, sugary sweet potatoes. But in fact, she served a different kind of sweet potato dish altogether. No cream of mushroom soup and French fried onions on green beans. Instead, a kind of bean, corn, and squash combination she called Three Sisters and said it was American Indian. That was the first time I'd heard of that. Anyway, you get the picture. In fact, my mom took a picture, proud of her culinary exploration and expansion. Her attempt to serve foods she'd read might be more authentic to that actual misnamed first Thanksgiving. I look back on that day now, somewhat in awe. I wish, as many of us do, that I would have taken the time to find out more what sparked her to want to do things differently. She passed away this past August. Her 92nd birthday is on Tuesday. Perhaps that's what sparked me to remember this story. But my siblings and I, hold on a second. My siblings and I, 5 kids. At seeing the table, I believe all of us gasped, dismayed, and maybe even yelped. Then, well, we began to complain. we wanted the usual fare, the Thanksgiving foods you're supposed to have because, well, because it's normal, traditional, with some outliers and variations, including vegetarian and vegan now. Other than my mom, my family wanted the same kinds of food that many of us bring and savor during our church's regular Sunday before Thanksgiving feast that would normally be occurring on this day. But I wonder, James, Patricia, Beth, Connie, and others of our premier chefs, more I heard mentioned this morning, and others of us who also contribute sides and salads, bread, rolls, and desserts. I wonder if when we do once again gather at church, or this year with your own household only, please, if we might consider intentionally diversifying the food. Maybe include, for example, fry bread. That would be part of the movement to decolonize and honor Native Americans on Thanksgiving. The website Cultural Survival and other sources give additional ways to decolonize, some of which I'm happy to say this congregation has begun work toward during this past year, a result of the Religious Education and Faith in Action Ministry team's collaboration to educate ourselves about Indigenous peoples and our worship team for worship services. Just a few ways to consider to decolonize Thanksgiving from Cultural Survival's website include: learn the real history. Thanksgiving, like Columbus Day, serves as a reminder of the genocide and violence Native communities experienced and continue to experience. Learn about Thanksgiving and early colonial history from Native perspectives, including the book some of us read, The Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. Listen to Indigenous voices. It was the Wampanoag people, the people of the first light, that encountered the Pilgrims when they arrived in Turtle Island from Europe in 1620, 400 years ago. Since 1863, Thanksgiving has been celebrated as a national holiday in the United States, mythologizing the violent events that followed European arrival into a story of friendship and mutual sharing. But the reality is that the Wampanoag's generosity was met with genocide. And this truth has been systematically suppressed in the US education system, government, and popular culture. We can begin to correct that. Learn about whose lands we're on. First Unitarian has learned that our church is built upon Potawatomi land. Cindy Hesseman and others have begun this work. Contact her if you'd like to become involved. Decolonize your dinner. Native chefs have created a culinary movement with the goal of getting Indigenous people to honor their ancestors through their dietary choices, bring Native American dishes and local food to the dinner table. Celebrate Native people. Read the works of Native authors. You can see me for sources. For many years, Native people were silenced and their stories were marginalized. That's why it's especially important to read stories about Native characters told in Native voices. Share positive representations of Native people and work to end racist Native mascots in sports. Consider buying Native this holiday. Support Native artists online through the Buy Native campaign. Again, I have a list. And when traveling is safe, consider attending the Day of Mourning at Plymouth Rock, or the annual Indigenous Peoples Thanksgiving Sunrise Gathering at Alcatraz Island, San Francisco. This actually might make for a good youth and others trip. We could plan. Thanks, Mom, for being curious and willing to try something new, for starting a journey of decolonizing Thanksgiving, whether aware or not. I look back on that day now, somewhat in awe. I wish I would have taken the time to find out more. Many of you know, as I said, she passed away this past August, and I still mourn. Thank you to all of this morning's participants in this virtual feast of a different kind, more of which is to come. Our hospitality committee, James, Patricia, Beth, and DJ, who's not here. Carla from our caring committee, and Beth Porch, who will now read excerpts from the President, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray's Thanksgiving letter. May it be so.
I think we'll go to Rue's video and then we'll go to Beth unless I can
That's
switch
good.
that. Okay.
Very nice, Rue. Thank you. Thank you. Now let us hear excerpts from the most recent letter by our Unitarian Universalist Association's president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. This year, let us be mindful that many hearts in the indigenous communities of New England and across Turtle Island ache on Thanksgiving Day every year. In Plymouth, Massachusetts, indigenous people observe the holiday as a day of mourning. This year will mark the 50th anniversary of this day of mourning tradition and the 400th anniversary of the landing of the Pilgrims in Plymouth. Historically, UU ministers were instrumental in creating this US holiday and the Pilgrims and Indians pageant tradition that roots the holiday in an historically inaccurate and harmful colonial narrative. Many UU congregations in New England can trace their lineage directly back to early settler congregations that had a role in the genocide of Native communities. As a religious tradition, we cannot decide who we will be without reckoning with the truth of who some of our ancestors were. In truth, Thanksgiving celebrations have a long and rich history that predates the landing of the Pilgrims and the founding of the United States. There are many, many ways that we can connect in gratitude and celebrate the abundance of the fall harvest as a community without celebrating an ahistorical colonial origin story. This year, let us be grateful in a genuine manner. Let our gratitude flow from our deep, ongoing commitment to justice and equity. Let our gratitude grow from the opportunities we have to be together authentically, whether virtually or in person. Please join me as we reimagine this day and gather in community to honor Indigenous ancestors, experiences, and tradition. May it be a time to reflect and find meaning in how our shared values connect us. Words from the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray.
James, you're not unmuted.
Okay, this year I'd just like to take some time to thank everybody for coming out for our virtual Thanksgiving and for all of the previous Thanksgivings that we've all shared together here in the building, even if we can't be here this year. I'd like to tell everybody to have a wonderful and safe holiday season and hope to see everybody back here as soon as all this is done and over with.
Thank you, James.
There's music by the river, and music by the sea, and music in the waterfall that is gushing glad and free. There is music in the brook that sing and all along. There is music in the mountain with the silver tinkling song. But the music of thy spirit is sweeter far to me than the melody of rivers or the anthems of the sea. Why should I dwell in silence when the music is so near? Let me overflow my spirit so full, so clear, so full, so clear. Oh, let me listen. Oh, let me listen. There is music in the forest. Oh, myriad voices song. Oh, music on the mountains as the breeze winds rush along. There is music in the gladness of morning's very light, and the silence of the noontide, and in hush of starry night. But a deeper, holier music is the music of thy soul. And I think the angels listen as its starry echoes roll. Why should I dwell in silence when the music that is thine may overflow my spirit, blend with mine and blend with mine? Oh, let me listen. Oh, let me listen.
And now would you join me, please, in extinguishing the flame? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now I believe we are all headed to virtual coffee hour.